Hello YouTube. Today we're going to do the route from Reading to London Paddington on the Class 166. Assists that we'll have on will only be the speed changes along the route, when they increase, where they decrease, and we'll aim to achieve those. I'm not an expert on the route. I won't know off the top of my head where they will change, so we'll keep those on. We'll also have AWS active and DSD active, and I'll explain more about those along the route. We'll just turn those on first of all, as the default setting for those on any other trains in this game is defaulted to off. So that's our DSD on the Class 166. This will be our AWS. Next we'll unlock our master key. We'll switch our headlights to day. We'll move our reverser to forward. Reset the AWS and we'll move off. Along the route I'll explain a little about signaling. And of course speed restrictions. Along with our DSD alarms and our AWS alarms. So first signal that you'll see here will be our green signal, along with our track changing. So when you know track changing is going to occur, you'll see a white diagonal light lit up. So you can see that above the green signal here on the right of the train. I'll just get that in the center of the screen. On this occasion we're going to be going from the right track to the left track. Whilst all this is happening, I'm going to keep an eye on my speed limit, not exceeding 25 miles an hour. The speed limit is about to change to 30 and then on to 40 within the next 150 yards, so we'll just keep an eye on that. As you can see, it's just increased to 30. We'll increase the throttle to match that. Although before we get to 30 it'll probably change to 40 as it's just done. It'll increase to 90 shortly, again, which is just done. Okay, so we're bound to hear a few beeps shortly, as the next station, Twyford, is currently just over 4.5 miles away. So I'll explain that little beep that we've already heard a few times. I'm in the center of the track, such as this yellow board. As we go over those along the route, you'll hear a little beep. Usually just after that we'll see a green signal on our left hand side. I'll show you one or two examples of that. Then we'll all know what that little beep means. So I can see some green signals in the distance. That was the yellow board in the middle of the track. There's your green signal. You heard two alarms go off, so I'll give another example of that coming up soon. Again, you can see the green signals in the distance. So in the center of the track we're looking for the yellow board. Once the train goes over that yellow board, that was the beep that you'll hear. That's the green signal. I'll now focus on other alarms that you'll hear in the train as we go along the route. That's called your DSD alarm. So what the DSD alarm is after a certain period of inactivity on either the throttle or the brake, your DSD alarm will go off. This will go off as a safety system should the driver faint or collapse or be unconscious. It'll presume that the throttle hasn't been touched, the brake hasn't touched, that alarm will go off. If that is not reset within 3 seconds of that alarm activating, the train will shut down and go into emergency braking mode. So we must reset that alarm by pressing the circle button 3 seconds after it's been activated. That's within 3 seconds after it's been activated. Again, I'll give another example when that goes off throughout the route. Now we're a minute away from our destination, so now I want to keep focus on stopping in time. Again, that was our DSD alarm, which is promptly shut off. So we're at 80 miles an hour, we're 1.3 miles away from our destination. We've got a green signal up ahead on our left. That was the little beep, the AWS, which I'll not mention again, for any green signals along the route. So we're at 0.9 as we pass the class 43 in the opposite direction. We'll get off the throttle and we'll start braking at step 1 as we're at 80 miles an hour. Later on throughout the route you'll not see braking until roughly 700 yards into the route. One thing I like to do to stop in time is whilst we begin entering the platform, I like to aim to be at 30 miles an hour as we start passing the platform. So we're a little bit late on this occasion. I'll keep it in step 2, possibly needing to enter full service. Stopping on the marker. Let's get the doors open. We are on time. Within 24 minutes past 4 o'clock. So there you can see the S sign, which means stop, and we're just at that for stopping for a train of our size. I don't think you would get the class 43 fitting into a platform of this size, as I can hear one go by. And that is on its way into London Paddington. And there's another one in the opposite direction. We'll get back in our cab, shut our cabin door, get ready to close the doors, and proceed with our route. We'll give it maximum acceleration. Next station is Maidenhead, just under 7 miles ahead. Scheduled time for that stop is 16:31, so we've got about 6 minutes to achieve that, just over 6.5 miles. What we'll try and do along the route, as we stop at stations, if we notice any AI coming ahead, we'll try and switch the camera angle. We'll see how we are for time. We'll have a little play about that with that. Main thing for this route is to arrive at Paddington on time, along with other stations along the way. That last alarm was the DSD alarm. I'll not mention that too much throughout the remainder of the route. So when coming into stop within the stations, like I said earlier, I do plan to come in and meet the beginning of the platform at around 30 miles an hour, and then judge the braking between step 1 and step 2 on the class 66. Class 166 I should say. Sometimes you'll see throughout this video that I will use full braking if needed. I'll try and avoid that to ensure a smooth arrival for the passengers in the back of the train. So step 1 and step 2 is what I plan to use when coming into the stations. Sometimes I will use full braking should I leave the braking a bit late, but we'll try and avoid that if we can. It'll all depend on how we are for schedule, but I'll talk about that along the way. Do please leave any comments about how you feel this video is going. Is there too much commentary? Is there too little commentary? Compare it to other YouTubers if you want. I think I've mentioned on this video or previous videos that you may have seen. Some YouTubers just talk a little too much about politics, talk about the East Coast Main Line, how it's gone from Virgin to LNER, what the problems are with the route, what the schedule is for the Class 801, or what's better known as the Azuma, whether that'll be on time. At the end of the day, I just think we're here to play and watch a game, or a video on YouTube of the game. We don't want to hear about politics, or at least most of us don't. Then you'll get other YouTubers that have their name after the first few letters on the top line of a keyboard. Strange one, that. But everyone to their own, I guess. We'll just keep an eye on our speed as we approach that 90 miles an hour. Speed restriction in 1.8 miles is due to decrease to 75, which is before our next station, so we'll need to keep an eye on that also. So that was our AWS alarm. Usually when you hear the continuous beep, it means yellow signal ahead. So we'll just have a look out for that. I can see a green signal ahead. So it must have just changed from yellow to green. But we'll keep an eye out for any yellow signals. We're less than 100 yards to the 75 mile an hour speed restriction, so we'll just begin braking for that. Which we've achieved, so we'll just continue to coast. We're down to 71, so we'll step it up a bit, try and keep on schedule. The next platform is 0.6 miles ahead, so we'll begin step 1 braking. Like I said, we'll try to keep this within step 1 and step 2. Aiming to begin the beginning of the platform at around 30 miles an hour, so we'll keep an eye out for that. At 34 now. Hitting the platform at roughly 32 miles an hour. We've just overran the stopping post, I should say. And we'll just have a look at that to see how much we've overran by. Not by much. We'll try to improve on that as we go along the rest of the journey. I believe that's a Class 43 stuck at a red light on the opposite platform from us. So we'll get back in the cabin, have a look around in free mode, free camera mode that is, for a short time only, as we need to focus on our schedule. There you can see it's stuck at a red light. We'll shut the doors on our train and move off as we have a green signal. Next stop for us is Taplow, and we aim to be there in 3.5 minutes, 16:36. Like I said, along the route, what I plan to do is give you a roaming camera or different camera views of different trains. So I know that our speed restriction is roughly 75 miles an hour as we accelerate on the right hand side of your screen. As the Class 43 is not going anywhere, we'll focus on our own journey. It'll probably pass us in a while, as will this Class 166 head into Reading in the opposite direction. I believe that's the freighter on the right hand side. We'll not count the carriages, but if you're watching, maybe you can rewind. We'll come back to that in another video. See if anybody has the right answer. May have something to do why the Class 43 was stuck at a red light. I guess we'll see soon when it overtakes us. So we're just 0.6 miles away, so we'll begin braking for Taplow. We're roughly at 60 miles an hour as we pass another Class 166. That'll be stuck behind the freighter. And again, let's try and hit the beginning of the platform at around 30 miles an hour without the use of full braking. There's our board on the left hand side. And we'll open up the doors. We'll stay in the train this time, and we'll keep an eye out for the Class 43, which we've seen at the previous station. Not sure if we'll see it or not, but we'll certainly keep an eye out for it. We'll check the map, see where it is. So here we can see the Class 166 which had stopped at a red light, and the freight trains just began to move off. The Class 43 is still at the red light at the previous station, which you can see there. Going back to our own train, we'll go back to the cabin camera. And get ready to shut the passenger doors. Close them a bit early. Not concentrating. And we need to wait to 1637 before we can pull off. So we'll close the doors now. Next station 1.5 miles ahead. Arrival time scheduled 1639. Speed restriction of 90, which I don't think we'll achieve due to the short distance between stations. We got a green signal up ahead, and it's almost time to begin braking. That's the DSD alarm. We'll begin coasting. Not 0.6 miles ahead. We haven't begun braking yet because it's a much slower speed this time, of around 57-56 miles an hour. We'll begin braking soon though. Begin that braking now at around 500 yards from stopping. This time the stopping board on the left, which we've achieved, and we'll get our passenger doors open this time on the right. We'll see what that class 43 is. So it is on the move. No doubt it'll be passing us shortly. We'll get ready to close the doors from this free camera view. Also, I did mention other YouTubers. This is not scripted. And I have noticed that other YouTubers will read from a script and freely mention the script throughout the video. And this time we'll close our passenger doors at the appropriate time. As you can see, the doors have now closed. We'll begin accelerating for Slough. Scheduled arrival time in roughly 3 minutes. And we'll go back to our cabin view. Slough is in 2.5 miles. May need to begin braking slightly earlier for the 75 mile an hour speed restriction in just under 2 miles. So we'll keep an eye out for the Class 43, which will no doubt be approaching soon. As it passes us by, and another goes in the opposite direction. As you can see, with AI more frequent in service mode, there doesn't seem to be much difference with the frame rate. The PlayStation 4/PlayStation 4 Pro in this instance, more than capable of handling the graphics within this game. Excellent performance on this machine. Hopefully we'll see some more AI later on this route. Just makes the game that little bit more realistic compared to scenario mode. You do get the odd train here and there, maybe two. Not as much as when you complete service mode though. I do like the trains that you receive with the first version of Train Sim World, but I am looking forward to more added content later on when that gets brought out. I just feel as though the Class 4-3, as good as it is, exciting as it is within this game, I look forward to the more modern trains as they get brought out later on. So we're on schedule for arriving at Slough for 16:44. Current time is 16:43. Began braking a bit earlier this time. Currently slowing down for the beginning of the platform. Target speed for that personally is 30 miles an hour. Give or take 3 or 4 miles an hour to ensure that we achieve it at stopping. Arriving at Slough at schedule time was 16:44. Open the doors on the left hand side. Let's get up and have a look. As we see another Class 166 pass directly through Slough without stopping. You can see our stopping board, which we succeeded stopping at that. I haven't done many videos for YouTube. Some people may prefer that the camera stays within the cabin. Again, if you prefer that, just leave it within the comments and I'll be more than happy to create a few more videos without leaving the cabin. We'll get ready to shut the doors. We'll have a speed restriction of 75 miles an hour shortly after leaving the station. Currently it's 60, but we don't need to worry about that. Next station is Langley. Scheduled arrival time roughly 3 minutes, just over. 16:49. Speed's about to increase to 75 miles an hour. That's happened just now, and we'll see that increase further to 90 miles an hour. Next station distance is 1.9 miles. As you get used to the game, you know when you can focus on the speed. You realize sometimes you don't have to focus as much on the speed, such as now, and focus on the distance to the next station. So you can have a quick glance at your speed if you want, and then judge where the braking point should be for the next station. So I think we'll leave this one to about 0.7 miles before we lift off the throttle. Such as that. As we're not achieving the 90 miles an hour, we'll start braking at around 700 yards. Like so. So let's keep an eye on that 30 miles an hour for the beginning of the platform. We'll begin step 2 braking around now. Should comfortably achieve the 30 miles an hour, so we'll step into step 1 and step 2 again. As you can see, there's our stopping board. I slightly exceeded that. No major issue though. We'll try and get a little bit better for the other stations along the route. I'll put that down to human error. If there's anything else you'd like me to talk about, such as collectibles about the game, just leave some suggestions in the comments section. And we'll address those in future videos. Okay, we've got 2 minutes to reach the next destination of Ivor or Ever. So we've got maximum acceleration as we leave the station. We've got 1.4 miles to achieve that distance in. Let's just say it's going to be a little bit tight. will arrive on schedule. I think you can see a Class 166 there in the foreground on the opposite platform. Yeah, we are on time. I'd like to arrive there on the dot, but I've made a few small mistakes on this video, which have resulted in a small delay. You can probably hear Class 43 there going by towards London Paddington. We'll get the external camera for the opposite 40, Class 166. Still got its stores open. Not in any great rush. But of course we've got ourselves to focus on primarily. That's the alarm for the doors closing on its way to Reading as it pulls off. You notice the engine smoke coming from the roof of that. Great graphics even on the AI trains. Well done, Dovetail. We'll close the doors at the appropriate time this time. And pull off for West Drayton. The scheduled arrival time of 16:56, as we see another Class 166 pass us on the right hand side. So the time is 16:54. Approaching rush hour, I would imagine, around London, so hopefully we should see a lot more AI along the route. I think we've had our fair share along this route on this video. Hopefully we'll see a few more trains. Seen a freighter, plenty of Class 166s, and a fair few Class 43s as well. As we get closer to London, I would expect to see some more Class 43s and Class 166s. So we'll keep an eye on that distance, as we're a minute away from scheduled arrival time, which is only 0.8 miles away. So we should arrive on time. I don't expect any red signals. We've just passed the green one. We'll get off the throttle. And start braking around 700, 600 yards possibly. So there's another Class 43 heading towards Reading. As mentioned, it is rush hour, so it's good to see realism within the game. I can't thank Dovetail enough for bringing this to the console. Hopefully, plenty of people go out there and buy it. So we'll have a look at the stopping board. Right at the cabin door. Quite a good stop, that one. Have to concentrate to get a few more like that along the rest of the journey. As you can see, we've got a while until we get to London Paddington yet. And that's the Class 43 that passed us recently. I believe that's the Class 166. We'll get back in our driver's cabin. Have a seat, close the door, and get ready to close the passenger doors. We'll accelerate quickly. We are scheduled to be at Harlington in 3.5 minutes. .3 miles away. If you agree or disagree with any of the comments that I've made so far throughout the video, please leave your comments. We'll try and improve on that going forward. So we've had an AWS alarm. It is a continuous one, which indicates that we've got a yellow light, as you can see on the left. So we'll decrease our throttle. It was a single yellow. We'll get on the brakes. Hopefully it doesn't delay us too much within the journey. Let's get down to 30 in case the next one is yellow. I believe that's a green marker. So we can increase our throttle and continue on. If that had been red, we would have required some heavy braking. So we're due to arrive in Hayes and Harlington within the next 2 minutes, 1.3 miles away. So we're 0.7 miles away from Hayes and Harlington. We'll get off the throttle. We're at 60 miles an hour, so we can leave braking for a little longer. We'll get that on now. Release the brakes a little, as I believe the station is on the opposite end of this tunnel. We'll get the brakes back on. We'll get the doors open. I'll have a look at the stopping board, which is here. Again, another good stop without the use of full braking. We'll wait for the passengers to exit or board the train. Close our door. Let's have a look for any AI on the route that's near the station. None in the direction that we've just come from. And no trains approaching from the opposite direction. Although there is a train at the next station, it's going in the opposite direction from us, so we won't encounter any delay from that. But at least it means we should see some more AI along the route. That is at the next station ahead, so we'll see that before the next station. Close the passenger doors. We can accelerate in throttle mode 3. Get some nice easy acceleration on this for passenger comfort. It will increase that around 10 miles an hour to full throttle. Scheduled arrival time for next station is 17:08. We're approaching 17:03, which gives us 5 minutes to cover 5.1 miles. We should arrive on time. Should see the Class 166 coming from the opposite direction in 1 or 2 minutes. We'll keep an eye out for that. As you can see, in 2.5 miles we do have a speed reduction. However, it's 85 miles an hour. We may reach it, we may not. Shouldn't affect us too much arriving on time at Ealing Broadway. The Class 166, which is the train we are driving, does have a maximum speed limit of 90 miles an hour, so although you may see the speed limit reach a maximum of 125, we would never reach that. The train is limited to 90 miles an hour, although probably capable of reaching speeds higher than that. So we're still in full throttle. It's just over 3.5 miles away from Ealing Broadway. Haven't yet seen well, we can see it now. The opposite Class 166, which is stopped at the station. So we're just about half a mile away from the speed restriction of 85 miles an hour. Don't expect to reach that. We may see a few track changes ahead along the route. We'll keep an eye out for those. Remember, it's the diagonal white line as we approach Paddington. 2.5 miles away from Ealing Broadway. So we can see a further speed reduction of 80 miles an hour, which we'll need to keep an eye on as we approach that speed. Only 800 yards away. As we've reached 79, we'll get off the throttle, making sure that we don't exceed that 80 miles an hour. Increase the speed a little. Let's match that 80 miles an hour, staying on schedule as efficiently as we can. Keep an eye on the distance to the next station, which is 1.5 miles away. We will need to begin braking earlier than what we recently have been due to the higher speed that we approach the next station. So I'm going to begin braking around 0.7 miles away from the next station. We'll begin braking at step 1. Decrease the braking to step 1 from step 2. This next station is underground. I believe that's another 166 in the background. Coasting into the station. As another class 43 passes by. Not too far away from London now. Can see a green light at the end of the station, so we'll make a quick getaway. As we arrive at Ealing Broadway, bang on time at 17:08. You can see a stopping marker on the left hand side. I don't think we'll have any AI nearby. We just have had class 16 and a class 43 pass by. It is near rush hour, or we are on rush hour at London Paddington now. So expect a few more trains as we approach London Paddington. We'll get ready to close the passenger doors. Next stop is London Paddington. Scheduled arrival time of 17:18. Current time is 17:09. So we've got about 8.5 minutes to cover the remaining 5.3 miles to London Paddington. We'll give it full throttle. So for the remainder of the route, expect a few line changes. We'll probably see some AI, and we'll probably see some yellow lights as well as speed restrictions. As we're on the final leg of the journey, please comment how you feel as though I've done, both driving the train, commentary, whether there's anything you'd like me to improve on, such as closing the passenger doors. Other than that, just give me your general feedback as to how you think I've done. If there's other YouTube channels that you've seen, what would you like me to do differently, or has this been what you want? I greatly appreciate the feedback. Hopefully encourage me to complete more videos. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Future videos are planned, like I said, hopefully with a few more camera angles. Few more different routes, thinking about the German and the American routes. But I do like the service mode within the British routes. Plenty of AI, good graphics, all around good game. In 2 miles, the speed restriction does drop to 50 miles an hour, so we'll need to keep an eye on that. Currently, we're looking at 80 miles an hour speed restriction, currently approaching 70. So we'll keep an eye on all of that. And we'll just decrease the throttle in preparation for the 50 mile an hour zone. naturally decreasing the speed without use of the brake. You can see a class 166 there on the left. And we'll start braking step 1 for the 50-mile-an-hour zone. $60 miles an hour and dropping. And we'll coast in for a little while longer as we've still got just over 700 yards until that 50 mile per hour restriction. Hopefully we'll not have any red lights between here and our final destination. And we've succeeded slowing down the train to 50 miles an hour without any heavy braking. I can see a green light further down the line. We will need to drop the speed to 40 miles an hour within the next mile. Keep an eye on that as this light is green. Of course, we've always got the excitement of any potential AI for the remaining 1.5 miles into Paddington. We've got half a mile left for the speed restrictions, so we'll go into step 1 braking. We've got 4 minutes for the remaining 1.5 miles, so we'll play this one safe. We should naturally drop to 40 miles an hour before the 300 yards expires. And we've got a yellow light up ahead, so we'll need to keep an eye on that. That's our AWS. It is a single yellow light. We'll decrease the speed a little bit more. In preparation for a potential red light. Head can't yet make out which colour our signal is. I can see plenty of red. We'll step into step 1 braking. That was our AWS for a red light, which was the continuous beep. We can see another class 166 coming our way. We'll cancel our braking. And we can see